Good morning. It is bright and early on a Saturday. At least it is for me. I'm not sure what time you'll be watching this, but we're going to fit a TRD big brake kit. This was a option for the first gen Toyota Tundras. They were made by Stoptech. It's a 4-piston caliper. It's basically an ST40 with the TRD badge on it, and we'll be upgrading it on my Tacoma. I've got a pretty extensive playlist on all the mods I do on the truck anyways, so I figured might as well let's record this one, and we'll go over a few steps because it is not a bolt-on procedure. All right, so here are the stock brakes. Nothing crazy, just a 4-piston stock caliper, and these are the big boys we're putting on. You can see the TRD logo is a little faded, almost completely gone, but it's there. And these are ST40s. If you look at the top, it's definitely a Stoptech caliper with that little design. And one of the main things, and I don't take any credit from this was done by my friend Angelo. I'll link his Instagram page on my description for this video, but he did this for a 3rd gen 4Runner. It's since been parted out and I was able to snag this kit. But if you look at this indent right here, and this whole piece was machined out because the bracket was too thick and it pushed the caliper too far over on the rotor. So this is already milled. I don't need to do anything with it. He did all the hard work speccing it out, but it's going to bring the caliper in and sit it right evenly on the rotor. And then this kit that he had used originally came with these lines. I'm 99% sure they're gonna work on my truck. I need to double check while we go through this process. But if not, I can bend up some stainless hard line to the aftermarket stainless lines I already put in the stainless steel braided lines that I already put on the truck. The hard line that's coming off the caliper now on the Tacoma stock is not gonna line up. So worst case, I'll bend up a new tube. But if not, we're just gonna run with it. I don't see why that wouldn't work. I'm pretty sure Toyota uses the same metric fitting size. It's the length that's going to be a concern here. Other than that, I did get some wheel spacers machined. These are made by Bora. So these guys I got spec'd out in 5mm. So what I originally did was I bolted up one of these calipers onto the truck. I already pre-cut this dust shield so I could throw it right on pretty quickly. But I had to fit it and then bolt the wheel up to make sure that it was going to clear the caliper. Because if you look here, that is very, very close. I mean, we're talking like 1 to 2mm. When you install a Stoptech kit, in their instructions, they say 2 to 3mm is what you want. So I put the wheel on with the caliper and it touched the caliper. It would not even spin. I just snugged up the bolts a little bit to see where I was at. So I got these made in 5mm. And then if you look closely right here, right in the middle, it's kind of hard to tell, but there's a plastic ring. I have a hub-centric ring for the stock bore, which is 106mm, and then the TE37 bore, which is 112. And so in this wheel spacer, there is a hub-centric ring machined into it. So this is going to space out the wheel just like I need it, 5mm, no big deal. We have extended studs on, and it'll be hub-centric, so I don't have to mess with those little plastic rings lining them up. It's gonna drop right onto this every time. I went with 4 because I'm a little weird and OCD, and I didn't want to see less stud on this than in the rear. So I got 4, so I see the same equal amount of studs sticking out of the lug nut. Just, I don't know, personal thing. But either way, we're gonna time lapse this and get on to throwing on the new caliper and see where we're at. That was pretty quick and easy. Basically took the wheel off. I took off the 12mm holding this whole deal. This is where I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. We'll see. If you haven't watched my videos, just do a quick little tour, I guess. We've got gusseted spindles, TIG welded, Kibitech upper control arms. They are camber adjustable. That was the main thing that I wanted from. And they have the big 1.25" uniball, not the inch. ARP bolts everywhere, Baja lights, C4 fender liners, Marlin crawler gusset kits, RCI skids, the whole deal. Everything's been done to this truck. That's kind of how I ended up here. I'm running out of things to do. So this is the TRD caliper, and it's almost the same size. It is bigger. The video may not show it 1-to-1, but the main thing is the pistons are bigger, the brake pads are bigger, and when I test fit it, I noticed that the brake pad grabs all the way to the very edge. So we're gaining all of that grip. I'm gonna have to knock down that rust. I'm not changing out the pads. There's still a lot of life left. These rotors are good. And once those pads are done, these rotors are done. They're very old, so I'll do that later. There's nothing wrong with these for now. As you can see, they're still great, so we'll run with it. But this is the hub-centric ring. So this is, I think like roughly 3 millimeters on each side. That's how you get the 6 millimeter difference, something like that. And we will get our spacer here. So it fits beautifully, there's no movement. And then that's going to fit the wheel. So let me put this caliper down so I don't drop it. And we'll throw this on the wheel and just see what happens. Because I haven't done this yet, so we're learning together. Let's see. Yeah, that's gonna get stuck in there. I mean, it's a tight fit. There might be a little debris in there that I'll have to clean up first. I'm not gonna jam it in right now, but it fits and it takes up the slack, so we're good. So the wheel is mounted up with a 5 millimeter spacer, and we have great gap between the caliper and the spoke, so we're good. The only thing I did notice is that it is just barely rubbing on the caliper. If you look closely right there, it's just barely rubbing the wheels, the wheel weights. So I'm going to grind them down a little bit. No big deal. These are bead locks. They don't balance out perfect anyways. I wanted to test fit the line, so I zip tied it to where it would mount and ran the banjo real easy. Nothing cinched down, obviously. And you can see the nice TRD stamp on these lines. So what I'm going to do is run this line. I'll take off the stainless line that I put a while back for the stock caliper. That way I'm gonna bolt this back up to here, so we still have our mounting for our ABS. And then this little guy right here, I'll make a bracket coming off of this and just keep it all in line. That way we don't have anything moving around that can possibly get caught up in the tire. Other than that, I'm going to pop off this caliper, get the rotor off, and just lightly knock down the edge of that rust so the pads have some chance of bedding in. Again, this is old, so it doesn't matter. We're not messing up good rotors. We're not messing up good pads. This truck hardly gets driven. It'll be perfectly fine, don't worry. And at some point I am gonna update it. I just wanted to get the big brake kit on and get the hard part knocked out of the way. I skipped the part of putting the brake pads in. These things are super easy to put in, but anyways, you can see they're installed. We've got the bolts torqued to spec, the brake lines installed. And what I ended up doing was I used a bolt with a larger washer on the back to make up for the gap on the bracket. and cinched it down. So now we have nothing to worry about with that bracket. And we could toss on the wheel, skip to the other side, and bleed the brakes. I almost forgot, before I had recorded the last video, I test fit these at night, and I did cut this edge of the dust shield off. And I'll show you here, when you bring the caliper in, you can see it's touching already and we're not lined up at the bolts. So it's really just a little bit of that dust shield that needs to get cut, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. Now we have perfect clearance. No issue, just a quick little trim. I'll clean it, get the edges off with this thing. So that's nice and clean now, and we'll touch it up with some Steelit and let it dry while I start cleaning off the rust on this rotor right here. It got really rainy yesterday and I wasn't able to finish videotaping, but it's the next morning and we can see here that we've got a beautiful red Stoptech ST40 behind that TE37. The 5mm spacer worked perfect on a little test drive around the block, and I'm sure I gotta bed these pads into the rotors for whatever it is, since they're both used on used, but we'll be changing them soon, no big deal. The hard part's over. We've got the brake lines and calipers mounted up, dust shield trimmed, and luckily I didn't need to get a different wheel spacer. I was kind of winging it with the 5mm, but ended up working out perfect and I love it. So thanks for watching. As always, hit that like button and subscribe button if you haven't already. It makes a big difference for the channel, and we'll see what the next mods are for this thing. I'm kind of running out of things to do.